clap.
Wait, was that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I clapped right before I said it.
I like the new audio effects to the sound effect.
Woo!
Think so. Not sure what that was.
Ready to go.
I think that's jet lag, maybe?
Nope.
Car lag?
Maybe.
Wedding lag.
Yeah, probably.
There we go.
Weekend lag.
Yeah, weekend lag, definitely.
Welcome back. This is episode 125 of We Were Gamers, a podcast about not having any time to do anything because life takes over. And usually that's a good thing. You know, sometimes you don't have time to play games because you're at your sister's wedding.
Yeah. Congratulations to my sister and her new husband and my new brother-in-law. If my voice sounds bad this week, it's because of that. Definitely not because I ate a sandwich this afternoon that had a slightly over-toasted bread and scraped the top of my mouth up a bunch. It's not that. It's definitely from the wedding.
I don't understand how that's even possible, right? Like, bread shouldn't be able to cut your mouth.
Yeah, it shouldn't. I agree.
And yet, more than one baguette has filled my gums with pain.
Yeah, so I'm definitely blaming it on the wedding.
All right. Weddings are good reasons to have rough weekends. Michael, would you like to join JJ and create your own little... what would the right word be? Pod? Yeah, not a pod. You know,
bubble.
A bubble. Yeah, sub bubble of commiseration.
Yeah. So we wound up out of town, but in the same place this weekend for an event.
Mm-hmm.
There might have been a certain football game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. As we have season tickets to the Stanford football season again this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were playing the Utes. Utah was in town, and we have a friend from down here, a coworker of mine, and of your wife, Sandy, who's a huge Utah sports fan, all of the Utah sports, but is a U of U grad herself. And so she and her whole family also went up there because her mother-in-law is in the Bay Area, and she joined us for the game, which was not really much of a game.
She had a great time.
Yes, she had a great time.
Let's make a Venn diagram out of this. Michael and I are in one side because we made a bubble, right? And like a bubble is kind of like a circle. So Michael and I are on one side of bad weekends this weekend with football. And last weekend, JJ had a little bit of trouble with a vehicle. So we're going to like Venn diagram Michael in here. Is your car broken again?
My car might be broken again.
Oh, no.
So it started.
It's never ended. This is why we don't play games.
Are we cursing this podcast to be forever about like car trouble and bad football scores?
It's literally just now We Were Gamers, a podcast about football and cars.
Dealing with life problems.
Yeah.
But yeah, so JJ, it's doing, weirdly, it's doing the same thing it was doing before, but some of the symptoms are slightly different. So we had just come down out of the Angeles Forest, coming south on the 5, back into LA County, and in the carpool lane, doing probably 70, step on the gas, no response.
That's not great. I've been there, and that's not a good place to be.
Yeah,
not in terms of where it is, but like what the car is doing. That's
same thing as last time. Threw on the hazards, managed to coast all the way across the highway and get it off. There was an exit right there. Pulled into a gas station parking lot and sat for a second. Gave it probably 5 minutes. Turned it back on, and everything seemed fine. So kept going. Got about 6 miles down the road. Same thing happened again. So we repeated the process, turned it off, turned it back on, didn't really even let it sit the second time. And that time managed to make it all the way home.
That's concerning for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna make an appointment this week and get it into the shop. We'll see what happens.
At some point soon, this is going to be a new car pot where everyone will have broken down and just gone out and got a new one.
Yeah, well, in my house, I am second in line currently for new cars. So
this might be
I have to hope that it is something reparable.
Well, sometimes when you put your spouse in the queue, no one really questions them if you skip the line to join them.
I like it.
What I mean? Right?
I like that idea because it then means maybe I don't have to attempt to care for a BMW beyond 100,000 miles.
That would be nice.
I think that's probably a good plan.
Well, we'll see what happens.
All right. Enough of the what? JJ, you had a new name for it, or somebody did. Leveling Up? It was not the Adulting Minute anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Michael, introduce your new title.
I was listening to us last week talk about how we were unsure on the name.
Like you did.
And it just sort of popped into my head, hey, this is a podcast about gaming. Why don't we call it Leveling Up instead?
That's a good name.
Kind of like the bloated level up from World of Warcraft, where the levels don't really matter anymore, but you're still getting them.
But you only get them when that is life, decides to give them to you.
Right. Right. Exactly. All right. That's the end of Leveling Up. Let's take a break from game reviews or whether we had time to play stuff this week, because we all know we didn't. Right?
True.
There's a lot of news that's been happening, and I want to get some just raw opinions on that news. Sound good?
Luckily, we have tons of time to have opinions.
I think we do. Mega Man is getting a live action movie along with Monster Hunter.
All right. I'll just say why. I know you guys were thinking it, but why?
I think it was more like the Keenan why on my end. I don't know if I'm all,
No, I got your reference.
Okay, great. I have no idea, but I assume it will be just as bad as the Speed Racer movie.
Did I hear that Mia Jovovich is attached to the Monster Hunter one?
Oh, yes. Definitely you heard that was true, because that's the second part of this headline.
So
Having run out the Resident Evil franchise.
They made a lot of those movies, though.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Sorry, Michael.
No, I was going to say, I can actually see the Monster Hunter one being better than the Mega Man one.
Right, for the exact reason that, like, Monster Hunter basically has no, like, overall, quote, lore or whatever. I mean, people are going to yell at me and tell me that I'm wrong, but, like, no one cares about the lore in Monster Hunter. They put up for the gameplay, right? Mega Man, right. There's, like, some lore that people would get mad about, right? I would think.
Yeah. Oh, sure. If the Buster cannon doesn't sound right, the whole movie's going to be ruined.
Or, like, if he doesn't explode into dots, or he doesn't float when he jumps through doors or something.
Mm-hmm. And if they use any of the bad guys that have a cannon, there's going to be trouble.
Yeah, or like, if they don't have 8 people or whatever. The Mega Man one just seems... It just makes no sense. What is the even the movie there? I don't even get it.
I was trying to think of that too. Like, what do you make a plot? The nearest thing I could come up with was something like Scott Pilgrim style.
Well, maybe, but can I make an argument here?
Okay.
You tell me how far off base I am? Yeah. Don't we already have 2 Mega Man movies?
No? Question mark?
Explain.
Would Tron not be the basis of a Mega Man movie, essentially?
No.
You're saying that you set it up so that the gimmick is that you're in a game.
Well, Mega Man is inside a system.
Wait,
that's his thing, right? He's like fighting viruses and stuff.
What?
So they come up with that for some of the later games, but no, that's not the original premise of Mega Man.
The premise of Mega Man is that there's Dr. Light and Dr. Wily, and Dr. Wily's evil because the other guy's name is Light. and he creates evil robots, and then they attack the city, and Mega Man saves everyone. That's the Mega Man I know about. I don't know what the one you're talking about is, but maybe it sounds like a better game. I don't know.
There's definitely Mega Man games where he's inside a computer.
There's some of the DS games. They beam him into the computer.
Okay.
You know what? The ones with the Battle Network or something like that?
Okay. You know what?
They could do those games.
Yeah, that sounds like a way better premise for a movie.
Again, though, then we're back at Tron.
Hey, but Tron was good.
Both of them. I like both of them.
I agree.
Bridges, Old Jeff Bridges is the right Jeff Bridges to have stuck in a computer simulation, because otherwise he makes no sense.
Yes.
And the dumb CGI Jeff Bridges in that later part of that movie is great because it's inside a computer.
Right, yeah.
Like, the bad CGI works.
Man, I really hope we get replies to that, because I know a lot of people hated that movie, and I'm willing to defend it.
I thought that movie was pretty good.
I'm willing to go out on a limb for it, and I'm glad that I'm not the only one on this podcast.
And the music rules.
Oh my god! If anything, look, how did Daft Punk only score one movie? Like, did people not listen to that and then go, "Oh, we should get them to do every sci-fi movie"?
Yeah, I listened to that soundtrack for over a year and a half after that movie came out.
It was a staple of some of our RPG nights, for sure. All right, there's not enough to talk about on that yet, so we can transition to movie actors. Movie actors from Frozen and Toy Story have been tapped to reprise their roles in the upcoming Kingdom Hearts 3. Including actors such as Haley Joel Osment.
Are they saying that Toy Story and Kingdom Hearts or Toy Story and Frozen are going to be in Kingdom Hearts? Is that
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Well, Frozen, they already teased big pieces of it at E3 this year.
Oh, did they?
It's a good use of money, though, to be throwing high dollars at those actors to be showing up?
Yes, because that game is all about the Disney stuff, essentially. Because if you remember, so I don't know, maybe this is a digression here. Andrew, do you remember when that first Kingdom Hearts game came out?
Yeah, I look, man, I beat it more times than I'd like to admit on more platforms.
Okay, Michael, were you a big fan at that time or no?
No, I got into it a little bit later, probably after the second one came out.
So I definitely didn't get the first one when it came out, but I saw someone else playing it, and I was like, oh, this seems like pretty cool, and then I got into it a little later. But the way they advertised that game at the time, I remember, was like, hey, it's Final Fantasy plus Disney stuff together.
Yeah.
And
definitely had the Final Fantasy X Disney. You know how everything's X whatever now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, X Disney, something X Disney. Anyway.
And that was a bit of a bait and switch, because it was basically all Disney stuff with they took a fine dusting of Final Fantasy on the very top and just hey, here's a couple people you know. Okay, bye.
Kingdom Hearts 1, where the story was followable.
Yeah. And so then, from then on, it's basically just been Disney stuff, the game, with an incomprehensible story because Japan or something.
Well, there's a serious lack of Disney at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 2, which is one of the biggest complaints about it.
Okay.
Right. Because there's
No, you're probably right.
Go for it at this point.
Look, that game is old.
You start in the land of the nobodies, right? So there's no... everybody's a shade of someone that's not a Disney character. So there's no Disney characters until 25, 30 minutes into the game.
I see. Okay. That's a fair criticism for a game that's basically supposed to be all about Disney stuff.
Right. Sure, but that being the case, that to me seems like even more reason to go out and get some of these recognizable big names from, the Disney All-Star team.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense to me in a game where they're like, oh, look, we have Toy Story. You want the actors for Toy Story in that game. And you want the Frozen people, and you want, the same stuff. You want the licensed that version of Let It Go. You don't want a ripoff.
All right. Well, then, does this also make sense then? Does this keep in the same vein? Kingdom Hearts 3 opening music theme will be penned, is the title that I was seeing here, but, written, performed by Hiraku Utada. There we go. Who's a Japanese pop artist. So that makes some sense, right?
And has a history with Kingdom Hearts because she's the one who did the original song.
Simple and Clean.
Yeah, that song.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But she's going to have a partner on this one. Skrillex.
Sorry, what?
That's a hard left.
Did you like the drop? Did you like the drop on that one?
Well,
I hit you with the drop.
It dropped me for sure.
Thoughts?
Okay. I mean, whatever. Kids like electronic music these days. I don't really know what to say about that.
I remember when Skrillex was popular. I'm that old.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have any problem with it. Like, yeah, try it. I don't know. Whatever. Let music people make their music. And if it's bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll have to wait and see on that one. And rounding out the Kingdom Hearts news, another Kingdom Hearts anthology following, 2.8, the rest of the story or something like that. There's going to be Kingdom Hearts, The Stories So Far collection, which collects Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix, Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix, and Kingdom Hearts 2.8 HD Remix.
Yo, dog, I heard you like bundles, so I put bundles in your bundles so that you can, etc.
Totaling 11 games, I believe 8 or so of which are playable. The rest are all video-based.
It's just so much.
Yeah.
Do you think this is actually a good way to absorb the story? I mean, for people that have never played any of it, you might as well buy it because you could play Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 in that bundle. And you'll get the HD versions of that game.
And then I think you get like 5 other games, though, right?
No, yeah, you definitely do. You get, let's see, how many can you name? I've got Dream Drop Distance.
Okay. I think there's one called like Chains of Memories.
Birth by Sleep.
There's one with a bunch of numbers divided by 2 days.
365 over 2.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
That's all I got. I know there are more than that, but I don't know what they are.
Would you play them? Would it matter to you to play them more than like getting Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2? Is it just bonus stuff? It's like special features on a DVD. Who cares?
I guess the question is like, how much are they charging for this? Is this a $60 product? Is this a full price?
It is a PS4 full title.
Yeah. Okay. If this is a full-priced game, I don't know that I'm interested in that because I already own some of those things already, right?
Okay.
If this is a case where, like, hey, these games weren't out on the PS4 yet, which is definitely the case for some of those, I suspect, then great, put it out for people. I like the name Story So Far. That's, like, a way better name than 1.5 HD Remix.
Yeah, 2. Anything they've come up with.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean? It was all foreshadowing for Skrillex. Yeah.
Nothing about it was simple or clean.
See, for me, if I had the system, I'd consider it because I don't actually own any of the games.
Sure.
I've played several of them, but I don't physically own any of them. So, I'm the kind of person who they would want to target that kind of thing to. Like, oh, I know these games are supposed to be good, at least some of them. I don't have or, have only played 1 or maybe 2 of them. Yeah, I'd consider buying the bundle.
Would they nab you if they, for Black Friday, released the Story So Far PS4 bundle and it was Square Enix themed? Or are you just not in? Not in on the console?
No, I wouldn't. You know where they would get me? They would get me if they dropped the. We're going to release this on Steam.
Yeah, so that was what I was just about to ask.
Absolutely, like, shut up and take my money.
Because if this is a game that comes out on PS4, there's a lot of games that go from PS4 to Steam eventually. Like those Yakuza games that we talked about a few weeks ago.
Final Fantasy 15.
Final Fantasy 15.
Square Enix game.
No kidding.
Square Enix has put stuff out on PC at a decent rate these days. So if they did the work to bring it to PS4, my understanding is it's definitely possible to do that work to bring it to Steam, without an insane amount of money or time compared with PS3 or whatever. It's more work generally.
I have seen no outlets reporting that Kingdom Hearts 3 would be headed to PC.
Oh yeah, it would be huge news, I'm sure.
But they've,
I would imagine it would be very hard to bring that series over. They would have to go to Disney. They'd have to go to, I'm sure Sony has some say in where that game has come from.
But, wouldn't they have to go to those people anyway to get them to put it back out? So if you're already going back out there, do the extra deal and maybe get a new market out of it? I don't know. I mean, obviously, none of us know the business here, but hey, look, I'd love that game on Steam. I would rebuy that stuff on Steam, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be on that in a heartbeat.
Well, there you go, Squeenix. You'd have 3 sales right there.
That's enough to do the port.
Sure. No problem. Hey, we're on consoles kind of here. Wall Street Journal reported that the new Nintendo has plans for an updated Switch as early as summer 2019.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what that might mean. I saw one speculation that you might get an improved touchscreen and better battery life out of it.
Better battery life, always great. Is this a case where they're going to do this is the what's the halfway refresh point? Has it been that long? Hasn't it only been a couple of years? It just seems fast.
Is its second year of life, so it would be 2.5 years, I think.
Is that about when they were doing
it'll quite be 2.5. It'll be right around the 2-year mark.
Because they're not going to do the new 3DS thing, hopefully, where it's here's one that's more powerful and isn't necessarily backwards compatible. Because I think that would be
3DS thing would hit yet. That seems a little early. Definitely what was it? DS to DSi. Oh, we added a camera, or
look, the people use this thing in handheld mode all the time. I'm sure those people would appreciate a bigger battery. So then, at that point, do you think they even rebrand it, or is it just still the Switch and you just buy them and they happen to be the new one now?
Yeah, my guess would be it would be the Switch X or something like that. Maybe not. Maybe it's just a small hardware refresh. I don't know.
It seems
more like a DS refresh to me than a PS4 refresh.
Yeah, I was going to go all the way back to the Nintendo 64. When they put out the what was that thing called?
The expansion pack?
Yeah, it was
a little red thing you plugged in.
The little red and black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Which they had clearly planned for from the beginning, though, by having that slot there.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. Adding more memory. Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine then, in this case, they wouldn't do something like, oh, hey, now your Switch has 200 gigabytes of internal storage now. But instead they would do something like, you have a slightly nicer screen, or the battery is 100 milliamp hours bigger or whatever.
I can't imagine they would go storage because they added that expansion slot for storage.
Oh,
that
right.
costs on the consumers,
I forget that the Switch still lets you use SD cards like a good system.
Burn.
Nice. On the Switch, other news coming out of Nintendo today was that they're going to start offering refurbished Switches for $25 off.
That doesn't surprise me at all because they've been doing that for a while. Refurb systems. Yeah. They were doing that I think they've been doing that at least since the Wii.
I was going to say, I think the Wii U that I bought was refurbished.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, discounts are discounts. My understanding, though, is that, these are Nintendo refurbished, so it's not going to be Amazon warehouse or whatever. But, people send them back to Nintendo, or they get returned for whatever reason, and they go back to Nintendo, and then Nintendo fixes them up and then sells them, after QA or whatever.
Yeah, I think they're still under warranty, too, when you do it that way.
Yeah, I believe that's the difference than buying it from, the used bin in Best Buy or GameStop or whatever.
Is that enough, Michael, off, or is that still wait for Black Friday and see?
I'm going to say I'm still going to wait only because I have seen, you said $25 off?
25 bones, smack rolls, a whole half of a game.
I have seen about the same or maybe slightly better discounts with promo codes on eBay for new ones.
My guess is that is just that $25 off is their like, hey, this is the all the time price for these ones. So
right.
So that's if there's no sales going on and you want to switch, that's great.
Fair point. I had a question for you guys last episode, and this is a really good place to park it. And we didn't get to it. We ran out of time in the component class at the end of last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like component class, extra credit, refurbished stuff, refurbished anything. What's your guys' overall take on that? Because when I came across some sales and some items and things like that, I realized I have definite opinions about when and where I buy refurbished or used equipment or other things. And in one of those instances, when building a computer, I only buy new. But a system maybe that comes with warranty, like a PS4 or a Switch, I would totally buy refurbished. So I don't know where that line is drawn for me, and how it got drawn that way, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I just don't trust, when I go into Fry's and they say that everything's back in the box, or when Newegg sends you this repackaged power supply, that everything's going to be okay. You know what I mean? So during the component class extra credit here, PC parts, refurbished, yay, nay? Computers in general, or consoles? Where do you guys land on refurbished things?
Well, at least in one of the cases you mentioned, I absolutely am against it 100% of the time, and that is anything at Fry's.
Bad experience.
No, I just don't trust that store because their stocking policies are extremely lax, and if people return, they have a very generous return policy for you as a consumer, but then they take that and flip it around and say, well, if people return it, we can then, and we think it's fine, we can then put it back on the shelf and sell it again as new, which I don't like. Like, they will go so far as to, someone opened this, but it was fine. We're going to re-shrink wrap it and put a price tag on it and call it new. Or, we subtract $1, which I don't agree with. So in that case, that specific case, I'm all against it every single time. But a lot of the other cases, it's gray area for sure.
Yeah, I think for me, I tend to shy away from the refurbished stuff, although I would probably put OEM refurbishment on my side of the line.
Yeah.
I see.
Right,
Okay.
so I would trust it a lot more, like in the case of Nintendo, right? If I'm buying a refurbished Nintendo product from Nintendo, I'm going to consider that a lot more of a safe purchase than buying from, a third-party vendor.
Oh, that's how I buy my Apple laptops, is always the year-old refurb models.
Sure.
Come with full warranties and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in any case where any place that you're going to get a full like new warranty on something, you're probably pretty safe. One place where I definitely won't do it, or one part in particular that I definitely won't do it with, is video cards.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Only because of the, I don't want to say it's a scourge, but at least the issue with Bitcoin mining and other cryptocurrency stuff, which it turns out really none of the listeners need to know really what that is. Just that if you use a video card to do it, you're basically like running your video card like it was a car engine at full throttle for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for as long as you can do it. And that's just can't be good for the part. So in a case where you get one of those as used or refurbished or whatever, I don't trust that someone wasn't doing that beforehand.
Fair points. All right. That's kind of It's kind of where I expected everyone to land. I think that's solid guidance, pretty much for anybody. Michael, to clarify, the Nintendo refurbished Wii's, or not Wii's. Whoa! Don't do that. Don't buy a Wii anymore.
Are they still selling Wii's?
Oh, look, if you want a Wii, that's okay. I'm not going to knock you for it, but go get a Wii U. It's the same thing, but better. Switches, the refurb Switches, they are available through the eBay store, so you could get even more money off if you find one of those codes.
Okay.
So there you go.
That seems pretty solid.
Let's see, rounding out the news for today, I think it's kind of important that we drop, because we talked about this game quite a bit, and I think it's still a good game, but we have to find out. 2 big stories out of CD Projekt Red over there, other than the fact that they're getting sued. Thronebreaker, price and availability revealed for $29.99, end of October.
That seems... I mean, I guess it's hard to say how much is in that game.
Steep, it feels like, right?
It feels a little steep if it's just a card game, yeah.
Game is estimated to be about 30 hours and story-focused.
So, like, then I feel slightly less bad, but I don't know. That's again where I'm like, I'm interested in that, but I'm so curious as to what it actually is, because I feel like they haven't shown much of it really at all.
Nothing. Yeah. Same news drop, or same day, the other side of that coin drop news. The GWENT Homecoming rework for the standalone card game is now live for testing. So I have no idea what that means. It sounds like they went back to the drawing board to make a completely different game, and now I'm very curious to see what that means.
Yeah, I just don't know if I can get back to GWENT
now at this point, right?
Yeah, I'm stuck in Magic now, and like I want to try Artifact, but that monetization model seems so bad. I don't know.
I'll be trying Artifact with that. Can you run down for Michael what it means to monetize that game? Because I think he'd have an opinion.
So,
give me
so Artifact, right? If people don't know, is a card game that's coming from Valve. It's Dota 2 themed, so there's like
we've talked about it once or twice, I think.
Lanes and creeps and all this stuff. It has a very unique feel from like any other kind of card game that I've seen. Like, it is completely there's no other card games like it. But it is a paid game, so it costs, I think, $20 to get in the door. Multiplayer, right, where you play other people on the internet, all that kind of stuff. And you can, of course, buy card packs. Like, games, like card games, right, that sell cards that way. Mm-hmm. But all the cards that you have are tradable and marketable on the Steam Marketplace.
Yep.
So that's Valve getting it both ways on that one.
And the Steam Marketplace takes a cut, and now we're in Diablo 3 territory of, will it just be inundated with junk?
And they have said, and I think it makes some amount of sense, that there are, rarer versions of cards that will just be straight up stronger than less rare ones.
The Magic model.
I mean, Hearthstone, it follows it too to some degree as well. Like, its legendaries are stronger than non-legendaries, right?
Situationally, yes. Hearthstone tries to have their cake and eat it too about the everything's no power creep, and
they don't do good cards are good job though.
No, bad cards are some of the bad cards are really bad. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So in
Magic, the bad cards are bad, but sometimes you can use them to do really silly things.
Also, there are some bad cards in Magic that are just straight bad. And there are rares that are just like, hey, take this bad card, but like make it cost less and do more things, which is problematic. But you know that going in, and there's the difference with Magic is there's like 50 different formats you can play the game in, and those bad cards can be useful in some of those formats, right?
Sure.
No one knows anything about Artifact, of course, because none of us have played it, and very few people out there have betas, so who knows? But that just seems a little sleazy, right?
Well, to me, it seems like at a certain point, if you got enough people playing the game, who's going to be buying the cards that are put on the marketplace?
People that don't want
rather than just buying packs.
Well, I mean, rather than just is there some other mechanic whereby you can do something with cards you don't want? Like there's I know you guys have talked about the dust mechanic in the past, yeah. But it seems like at a certain point, right, there are going to be common cards that are floating around in the pool that everybody has and nobody wants, and so they're just going to put them on the marketplace. Well, who out there is going to be buying these cards up?
Oh, no one. It'll just be the same way that, Magic cards do, where there's, markets out there for people that want to buy Magic cards, right? And the way it goes is if you have like a common card, it's essentially worth nothing, and you give it away for free to other people because there's no use for it. If people want to make a janky Magic deck full of bad cards, you can do it very easily because the other people at your local game store will give it to you probably because they don't want those cards anyway, and they're not helpful in decks, right? Whereas then the rares, or the more expensive, harder to find cards get, eventually establish some kind of price in a free market type way.
Yeah.
And lest we forget, you can also make crystals inside just the standard client in Steam. So let's hope, JJ, however, that the Steam artifact cards are not managed through the current Steam inventory client.
Oh God, please no.
Can you imagine?
It would be
hundreds of cards on 9x9 pages.
So bad
that you have to click through each individual one.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I would rather not.
Hey, if people have thoughts about Artifact or refurbished items or suggestions for component class, where should they go?
We have an email address, which is podcast@wewergamers.com. Send your questions and stuff there, and we will be happy to read and respond to those. You can get us at Facebook, which is facebook.com/wewergamers, and @wewergamers on Instagram and Twitter, where we also will be happy to engage with you, our fine listeners.
Leave reviews, iTunes, Stitcher,
Pod
King, I don't know, some other app. I'm sure we're on there.
Wherever podcasts are.
Do those things. And stick around through this because we always talk fantasy football after in the Rantasy edition number 4, week number 5. I think we skipped it 1 week. But if we're ready, I don't know about my blockbuster trade, but I did win the week. We'll see.
Hey, the W is the W, man.
Yeah, I got the dub, and he got a dub thanks to the trade, which he would not have gotten without the trade.
So see, there you go. Win-win, man.
Yeah, everybody's happy.
A rising tide, something like that. I think that I hit Cam Newton's floor, is what I'm saying. 2 TDs, 2 INTs, that's it. 20 yards rushing.
Yeah, that's a slow game for Cam.
I think that I don't know if I filled people in, but I traded this past week for Cam Newton and Sony Michel. I gave away Odell Beckham, Drew Brees, and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry made me look smart, and the rest made me look dumb.
I don't know, though.
Drew Brees.
Sony Michel did quite good this week.
He did very well. True.
Yes.
And I'm playing against a person who played Blake Bortles, which, even though I was not watching the game, I found out later had quite a game this week.
Yeah.
But, still put up 20 fantasy points in the league I'm in. So, that's quite a performance considering he threw like 4 interceptions and had a fumble.
Did he really lose the ball 4 times? 5 times?
Yes.
Still got that many points?
Yes, according to these statistics.
Oh, my lord.
Yeah, it was a crazy game.
King of the garbage time, they say. Which it counts as just as much as normal time in fantasy. So
that used to be Phillip Rivers' title.
Mm-hmm.
Might still be. We'll see.
Well,
although they crushed Oakland, which was Unforeseen.
You don't
Really?
usually.
That you mean just that it was so one-sided?
Yeah, I mean, it's a division game.
Yeah, usually
That's
they
true.
keep it a little closer.
Oakland's offense should be good. They have Marshawn Lynch, Derek Carr, Jordy Nelson. Maybe Amari Cooper's good.
Actually, I have a. Sorry. Continue.
No, that's the end of my thought. But, they should have been closer.
I had a fun occurrence this week in a league, again, which I did not notice until this last night and then this morning. I was tied in a fractional scoring league.
What?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, and then we got untied later after a stat correction. It worked out in my favor, which is why I'm not very angry about it. But and maybe it was an error in the app or something, but it was showing one player as having 0 points when he actually had 1.1. He had like one catch for 6 yards, and that was it. And it had showed him with a 0. I don't know why.
The box score may have given the catch to the wrong player, and then they always review the tape to do all the points correctly.
Yeah, overnight.
So
Yeah, so we were tied at like 120 something 0.54 or whatever it was, and then I was like, oh wow, crazy, we tied, unbelievable. And then I woke up this morning, oh actually we didn't tie, I won by 1 point whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fun. I don't think I've had a tie in a fractional scoring league that I've been involved in. I've seen other people tie, but it's pretty rare compared with how common it was back, Andrew, when you and I played in a no fractions league.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think you would tie a lot less in a non-fractional league if you did full point PPR. How's that working out, Michael?
Well, it didn't work out so well for me this week.
Michael is in a full point PPR, which I think is insanity.
It is insanity, especially because it's an 8-team league.
The inflation.
James White got 14 catches this week?
He had 10 receptions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I predicted to you guys a thing, and the thing came true. So shame on me for having 2 tight ends and not putting it on the podcast. Which one should I play?
Slight shame, not great shame.
Yeah. So as a result, I started Jordan Reed, who got all of 3.1 points this week.
Ugh.
And Eric Ebron was sitting on my bench with 31.5 points. I lost by about 22.
Ooh, the pain.
Yeah, it hurts.
That's one of those where, like, that's doubly tough because that's just a call. Like, it's not obvious that one of those players is better than the other, necessarily.
Sure.
You have to have a little bit of situational awareness.
I was going to say situationally, if I had put it together that Ebron's the only person on that team who's caught passes in a game, basically at this point because of injury, I probably would have given him the start.
Yeah, literally everyone that started
T.Y.
that
was
game
out,
had
right?
never caught an NFL pass before.
Yeah, T.Y.'s out.
Marlon Mack's out.
Who starts ahead of Ebron? I'm blanking on the other tight end.
Jack Doyle.
Doyle's out.
Yeah. So you had Eric Swoop promoted from the practice squad. You had Naeem Hines.
The running back, out of NC State.
And 2 receivers whose names I can't even remember that are still on the waiver wire.
Pascal.
And Ryan. And yeah.
Yep.
That's it.
So
Ebron's the only one that was get open.
That was fun. But some of the other amusing things that happened on my team this week, I decided to hang on to the Cleveland defense for one more week, which worked out.
No kidding. What happened to the
12
Ravens?
points?
Yikes.
The Cleveland defense has played some quietly good games, even though they've given up some points. They've made up for it in turnovers.
I broke a personal rule this past week.
Okay.
And something that no one should ever do. But I kept 2 defenses on my roster.
Yeah. I understand why you did.
Chicago.
Chicago. I feel like there was no good reason to drop Chicago for anybody this past week.
And that happened in my league, too. The team that had Chicago sat them on the bench.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, there was
the
Denver Broncos.
There was someone in my league who dropped Chicago because it was their bye week.
Insane.
And someone picked them up using waiver wire money for a defense.
Also insane.
Like initial waiver clearing. Yeah.
How much dollars out of a budget?
It was not a lot. It was a $100 budget, and I think he paid $6 or something, which isn't a lot, but that's a lot for a defense.
For a defense.
Defenses go for $1 at most, at least in that league.
$3 to try and get ahead of people paying $1.
Yeah. I think I bid $1. I got outbid by someone who bid $2, and then the guy who bid 7 or 6 was up there by himself.
One with 3. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you would have lost to that guy.
Yeah.
But there are people in my league who bid like $34 on a backup running back too. So that league's a little.
People are zealous.
Yeah, that guy had a good feeling about that guy, which eventually turned out to be good because the other guy that ended up being the starter got hurt, and now that guy is the guy. So, but he didn't know that at the time.
So, a word on kickers.
Mason Crosby.
I have to drop him and find someone else this week.
Guess who I picked up this week in a league where we lose a point for missed kicks?
Mason Crosby.
Oh no.
Did I hit the same note? I tried.
Mason Crosby, 0 points.
I've been quietly sitting here with Tennessee's kicker, Ryan Suckup, all season. He's never ranked in the kicker category. He's always passed to like top 20 or whatever they actually rank out to. I've never seen him on there. And he's kicker number 4 this year so far.
Kickers are one of those positions that quietly get you a lot of points if you have ones that score a lot, and really no one pays any attention to, I feel like.
I really do. I think we've talked about this before, but I really do believe people have to not think about the Falcons get 9 touchdowns. Like, you don't want the teams that get 9 touchdowns. You want the teams that are great at getting to the red zone and then suck.
And stalling out. Yep, they don't have that red zone weapon.
Which, would be Mason Crosby most weeks.
Sure.
Hold on. Mason Crosby. There we go. I nailed that. 5 missed kicks in a game?
4 field goals and a PAT.
How do you not get fired the next day? When your team, if you'd hit all those, when your team would have won, if you'd hit them all.
Well, the interesting thing was that they sent him out for the last one, the 50-some yarder, which he knocked through.
Speaking of 50-some yarders.
Speaking of 60-some yarders.
I want to pipe in that Mexico announcer's call. Was it Mexico or just Spanish language?
It was the SAP broadcast, okay. I think, of the...
I didn't know where it was from. Graham Gano.
Of that field goal.
63 yards?
63 yards. Ties a Panthers franchise record.
Whew. Kicked that in the humid weather, Carolina.
Yeah, I saw a real cool a post that the Panthers retweeted from Graham Gano today, where he has a tee signed by Tom Dempsey, who he watched back in the day kick a 63-yard game winner. He watched replays of it as a kid and thinking, I want to do that one day. And he put yesterday's game-winning ball onto the tee that he has signed by Dempsey.
Very cool.
Nice. As a Panthers fan watching that last game, did you have concerns that coming off of a bye they looked like that? Because it wasn't great.
Yeah, it definitely was not. It was not their best effort, and I'm not. We were driving during the game, so I didn't really get to see much of it. But reading a little bit about the game in the wake of it, it just sounded like they were missing a little something. They've got, they brought in some help on the defensive side of the ball, which should I think will help them turn some things around. But, we will see.
All right.
Well, as
Broncos stink.
As Bill Belichick says, on to week 6, or week 5. What week is it?
Next week is week 6. Yeah.
On to week 6.
Yeah. So where are we sitting? I've got 4-1.
Yeah.
3-2 for me.
I'm doing pretty well in my work leagues. I'll be 4-1 after this, and then in the other one, I'm going to be 3-2.
Sitting on decent records. Sounds like. Well, we'll check in with it next week, and until then,
me. I didn't know if I was supposed to chime in there.
Oh yeah, that was good.
That worked out.